Coming now to the subject that has raised quite a bit of interest here in Italy, that is the so-called Mussolini UFO case, confirmed before. You mentioned it also by Luis Elizondo. Could you please elaborate on the way you got to know the event, its characteristics, and so on?
Yes, some of my interview subjects that I ultimately directed to the Inspector General, they did give me a briefing on all the U.S. involved recoveries that happened over the years, and the Mussolini case that, interestingly enough, is already out there in public vernacular thanks to your work. Uncovering that case, and the 1933 Magenta area crash was one of the events that they talked about, and that was one that I submitted in my DoD and pre-publication review to be able to talk about publicly, because I thought that was a very remarkable international case that would hopefully spurn not just U.S. interest but European interest. And so what's interesting about that crash, this is some stuff I haven't stated publicly, but I did submit it for security review. But so when it came down, when they went to recover it, it had a acorn or bell shaped. But what really happened there is they believed that the original craft was lenticular or saucer, because when it crashed, when they came to recover it, all the edges were broken off around the craft. And so it looked like a bell or an acorn, but really it had additional characteristics that were destroyed when it landed. But Pope Pius XII was involved, and he sent a communique through the OSS, the American OSS, and it ended up going to FDR's desk. But as far as I know, unless the records were destroyed, the Vatican and the Pope Pius XII section of the Vatican Secret Archives, there should be documented evidence. From what I was told, now these intel officers that briefed me on this, that had firsthand knowledge, they assumed that the Vatican still had those records and they weren't destroyed, and they postulated if they did, what specific Pope's records it would have been in, because of the time and Pius XII's involvement back then. And of course, that was ultimately recovered at the end of the war, and went under U.S. possession after the war.
Northern Italy, 1933. With the threat of war casting an ominous shadow across Europe, an incredible series of events unfolds, all under the supervision of one of history's most powerful and feared leaders, Benito Mussolini.
In 1933, it's claimed that a UFO crashed in the Lombardy region of Italy. This was apparently an object around 50 feet in diameter, like two saucers joined together. It was described as being grayish in color and metallic. And apparently it was then taken by the military and studied on the personal orders of the then dictator Benito Mussolini.
According to some accounts, the UFO crashed near the city of Magenta, just 80 miles northeast of Mount Musone. The craft was found to be unoccupied, and unlocking its secrets became a top priority.
This flying saucer was something that the Mussolini government took a lot of interest in, and so there was an establishment of a group of experts to study this phenomenon, to study exactly what it involved, who made it. And this committee was called RS-33.
To lead the committee, it is said that Mussolini enlisted the noted engineer and famed inventor of the radio, Guglielmo Marconi.
Mussolini said, find out what it is, and because it seems to be so advanced, build one. And Marconi apparently said, well, we can't. We can't figure it out. There is a technology here over and above anything we possess. And that only left the conclusion that this for want of a better term, was an extraterrestrial spacecraft.
Was a crashed extraterrestrial craft really recovered by the Italian government in 1933?